Hello, hello, hello. My name is Nicholas Rivas, and I talk about politics and stuff. And today we're actually going to be talking about the UFC. I'm a big UFC fan. Every Sunday, I try to talk about the UFC fights that may have occurred over the weekend. In this case, we've had the UFC Fight Night in London, which was really fun. I definitely know people were a little bit disappointed with it, as the last UFC London was both a return to like normalcy for the London fight cards, but it was also a just a fun card with Patty, Molly, all these big fights. And again, this time trying to replicate that, they had, Tom Aspinall, Patty Pimblett, Molly, and just some good fights with Curtis Blades, Jack Hermanson, Chris Curtis, Jordan Levitt, all these kind of bigger names, these up and comers, or these more legends like Alexander Gustafsson, Paul Craig. But yeah, let's go from bottom to top. So the Paul Craig fight, I have no idea what's going on with it. I missed it, and I was trying to find clips about it, and everyone's just talking about how disappointed they are in Paul Craig. I don't know if he just did bad and poorly. What I'm seeing, I think, is he just did poorly. Like, he didn't really come out, and neither did his opponent, Ozdemir. So yeah, I can't really say much. I mean, I know a little bit of Paul Craig. I don't know him like that much, but I don't know how bad the fight was where that's all I kept hearing people talk about. And another fight where people were very disappointed with. But looking at his record, I mean, I've heard of Paul Craig. I know Paul Craig. He's fought some pretty big names, but I think he's always kind of at the bottom, right? Like, he hasn't really been a title contender. Yeah, I'm not really seeing... I'm going to sound probably so stupid, but I don't know if Paul Craig has ever been to the title, like a title contender. So yeah, I really can't say much about it. I'm curious on what people say. If you can leave a comment or discuss it, because I still can't find any clips on it. I have ESPN Plus too, and I couldn't even watch the fights, like go back and watch it, which I thought I was able to do, but whatever. I'm just here making the big money. But Molly McCann, great fight. Meatball Molly. She's a freaking scouser. I don't even know what that is. I just keep hearing Patty Pimblett say that. He's not even saying it about her. He said it about himself. Yeah, I love her. I love her so much. God, she's so fun. I like the lady Hannah Goldie that she fought, but there's definitely levels to it, and I can see that person was just trying to survive. It put up some decent fights, a little decent scrambles, but it was mainly a Molly fight. Like she brought it the attention. Everyone wanted to see her, and I love her because, of course, she's associated with Patty. They're both really fun together. When they had their press conference together, it was amazing. They're just fun people. They're just so fun. When Patty was eating his food and Molly's just talking, and she acknowledged, like, this guy won't even breathe because he's eating so fast and so much. It's just funny. They're just really cool people, and I think she's a great fighter. I love the whole London card because of them. I wouldn't really care if they didn't have those two, honestly. Like, that's why I wanted to watch the fight. Going to Alexander Gustafsson. Ugh. Man, that hurts. That's the beauty of UFC, right? You get this pain. Like, I'm a big Suns fan, big Arizona fan, rep my teams. When they were out of when the Suns were out of the finals, after losing to the Mavericks, it was really easy just to be like, well, I have no stakes in this anymore. I don't care. And you just watch. I watched the Eastern Conference just because it was some good, games. And so, the beauty of the fight world is, you have these fighters who maybe you're not the biggest fan of, but you kind of check here and there, but you really appreciate them. And Alexander Gustafsson has been one of those guys for me where, like, I wasn't the biggest fan. I thought he's fun, but to see him go against John Jones and do pretty decent, people really backed him. And ever since then, he hasn't really done much. And even in the rematch of John Jones, if I remember correctly, he's in that camp of people where he unfortunately went against the greats. Like when Matt Serra fought GSP, he lost a second time definitively, right? Like, it was kind of, I wouldn't say a fluke. They were just a better man that night, but in the next fight, you saw who was the better fighter overall. And I think Alexander Gustafsson suffered from that, where he fought Jones. Jones, with his IQ, capitalized on everything that he realized from the first fight, where Alexander just looked worse. He looked the same. He didn't look worse, if I'm remembering the fights correctly, right? So to see him get knocked by this guy, and I don't really know much about Nikita Krylov, but Alexander Gustafsson, his chin isn't there. And it's fine. It's just the sport. but it hurts. Like when I was watching the Eastern Conference for the Suns game, like after the Suns lost, I was like, I have no really interest. But when you see fighters who you kind of barely even like and lose like this, you go, damn, it sucks. Like you feel like you still have some stakes in it. So it makes the sport really fun to watch, but it really hurts to watch sometimes. Like you never have a dull moment for yourself if you're like even a lukewarm fan, right? Um, which leads to what I believe the main event is. No disrespect to Tom, but Patty versus Jordan Levitt. I like Patty, and I was honestly scared. I thought, oh my god, this guy's gonna lose. He's walking into this fight like Jordan Levitt is nothing, right? Because Jordan Levitt's good, great wrestler. Yes, he's not a striker, and I think everyone was like, if Patty gets knocked out by Jordan, that's an embarrassment. And nobody, I don't think anybody had that worry, but that's where I was worried. Was like, damn, nobody's worried about it. Like, hey, never underestimate a motherfucker. Like, uh, any grown ass man I've ever fought was a tough battle. I don't give a fuck if the guy was short as hell, because I'm already short, so he's shorter than me, you know. But every fight I've ever had, never underestimate anybody, even the weakest motherfucker. They're a human. They're a human body that can use their leverage, even if you're bigger than them. They can use their IQ if you think you're faster or stronger than them, and vice versa. They can use their speed if you don't have that IQ. Like just the human body is this brilliance of machinery that you never underestimate. So in the case of Patty, I was like, dear, you might be underestimating Jordan a lot because he's a wrestler and his striking isn't that great. He's still a working, hard wrestler and somewhat of an IQ striker, right? He has more than the average person, so I just don't knock him, right? But I guess Patty had every right to, because he really, had it easy with Jordan. The first round, I think it was a pretty good, back and forth. I couldn't say anything wrong with it. I don't know why people are like, oh, I can't believe you're giving Patty the first round. I can't believe you're giving Jordan. Don't know why I turned Irish there. But I thought it was fair. I thought they both were just giving each other what they needed to give, and then the second round, Patty really just took it further, and beautifully done by submission. I mean, that just shows that, like, hey, Patty is an all-around fighter. He is defensively really gonna catch up with him. It's gonna be bad to see his defensiveness. His shield's gonna break, right? And I love him because of his character. And this is a fighter I would wish to be if I was in a higher level league of fighting. I would love to say stuff like, Scousers don't get knocked out. Like, that's fun, and he's just interesting. And seeing this guy gain all that weight and lose it. Patty is a fun character. I watched the Fight Night for him, and I watched back the Octagon interview when he did his last UFC London, and watching this one, seeing him break down and discuss, the loss of, I think, a child of his, or a child friend, it was a younger person, and heartbreaking. But then he talked about men's rights, beautiful, or men's rights, men's mental health, men's rights. It was beautiful to hear him talk about the lack of talking when it comes to men and their mental health issues. And I love that Patty in this sport with machismo backgrounds really came with this, bluntness. Like, I'd rather have a friend cry on my shoulder than go to his funeral next week. Beautifully put, beautifully done. Patty used his platform for a great message, and he's a great fighter. He's fun. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. I'm excited for what this guy does. Now, does he have long run? We'll see. With that chin, I wouldn't bank on it, but if he were to adapt and really get defensive, I think he can. I think he can do it. Jack Hermanson versus Chris Curtis. I didn't watch the fight. This is the one I missed as well. But I'm hearing Chris Curtis was throwing a fit, and I heard he even apologized. So, I mean, there's not really a story there. If he didn't apologize, I would have been like, oh, Chris, you little bitch. But, he apologized. He said what he had to say. It's a frustrating fight, I'm sure. I think Jack Hermanson is known for his wrestling, so I'm assuming he didn't bang with him, and Chris Curtis, expected that. I don't know. I didn't watch that fight, but hearing the backlash, I couldn't care since Chris apologized. But yeah, next thing though is Curtis Blades versus Tom Aspinall. Really fucking sad. Really sad. Not much to say. Tom Aspinall injured himself. From what I believe, a kick. I think that kick that he did to Curtis Blades in like the first 5-10 seconds, injured his knee. or maybe it was when he landed on it. I couldn't tell, and I don't want to watch the clip multiple times. But yeah, I mean, it sucks. It sucks. I really was hoping more for Tom. This might be a big shadow on his legacy if he can't really come back to normal, because he's a great fighter. He's someone I was excited for in the heavyweight division. I like Curtis Blades. He's a great fighter as well. I'm not excited to see him fight Francis though. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I really wanted Tom, but we'll see. There's not much that can be said when it comes to injury. He's like that in a fight. Shit can just happen, and then you never really know. Especially how early it was. You never really know what it could have been. But yeah, I'll just end it here. Fight card was great. Can't wait for the next one. New videos every other day, and the UFC videos every Sunday. So have a good one. Thank you. Goodbye.
Heads up, got one here. Reloading. Right here. I got some bad guys here.
Attention. The kill has been eliminated.
Shields recharging.